Sameeulhaq. My name is Sameeulhaq Thanvi. I am also popularly known as Sam, having grown up in the UK. And Alberto is asking me to present to you in 10 minutes what my colleagues have achieved in 4 years. So let's see how that goes. I don't know if you want a presentation or a performance, but we found somebody in the company who is an absolute whiz kid at presentations, so I hope that you'll enjoy the performance. Well, Nile Takaful. I'm here talking about the title of the presentation is Operating in an Emerging Market, and it's the Nile Takaful Family Experience. Nile Family Takaful Experience, rather. And quite frankly, having attended so many international Takaful summits in London and now here in Cairo, it is always an opportunity to be able to help new entrants into the market to understand the drivers behind how to enter local markets, emerging markets, with a Takaful product. So I hope that it does help those organizations that are thinking of growing the Takaful market through entering new markets. Okay, well, initially I'm going to just go through the company introduction very briefly, then understand what the drivers were for us to then choose Takaful in Egypt as an emerging market. We'll go through the Takaful model that we have in the business and take you briefly through the journey so far from when we started, and of course give you an indication of the future as well. We'll have a look at the products and of course the distribution channels through which the products are sold, and we'll touch upon value beyond profit, or hand in hand for a better future, which are the taglines of the two groups involved. Well, we're in Egypt. Believe it or not, I just arrived, as Alberto said, about 3 months ago, and quite frankly, I had my preconceptions, having watched the news all the time. When you're outside of Egypt, it always seems much worse than when you're in Egypt. But I was really, as I say, pleasantly surprised. The people that I met, the city of Cairo, Egypt in itself, even our chairman, Ashraf Gohar, being Egyptian, I feel so welcomed, and people are so friendly and welcoming that it's made it very easy to break in. The company is actually two companies. It's Nile General Takaful, and my colleague, Mr. Satoshi Furia, is the managing director of Nile General Takaful, and I'm the managing director for Nile Family Takaful. Established in 2008, we operated, we developed the program and worked with the system, introduced the products and so on, and then went on to sales. So what are the drivers? I know we spoke earlier on, I was in a panel discussion talking about the drivers behind growing the Takaful market globally, and I am very keen to see Takaful grow in the West, not just for the Muslim population, but also for the non-Muslim population, by labeling it something other than Takaful, of course, something like ethical insurance, so that you can penetrate a bigger market. But there are Muslim majority countries which do need to be penetrated still. The MENA region has been penetrated as far as the Middle East is concerned, and it continues to grow. But there is the North African region, and Egypt is a classic example of how from 2008 the Takaful operators have really made a mark in the insurance space. And beyond Egypt, we have Algeria, we have Morocco, we have Tunisia, which are all potential markets for Takaful. But we'll go through what the drivers are. Here's a little scale which shows you why the organization chose to do Takaful rather than conventional. Well, first of all, Muslim majority. Let's just look at that from a broader perspective. In 2010, we have nearly a quarter, just under a quarter of the world population is Muslim. And as you can see, from 1990, it's been increasing. In 2020, the Muslim population is projected to be 24.9% of the global population, and in 2030, growing to 26.4%. So as you can see, the actual percentage of Muslims as a percentage of global population is increasing. Let's narrow down to the region. Let's look at the Muslim population by region. And we have over 62% of the global Muslim population in Asia Pacific and 20% in the MENA region. With roughly, in MENA we have roughly 320 million Muslims, which is about 20% of the world's population. In 2030, that's going up to about 20.1%. Okay, now narrowing it even further, these are the top 10 Muslim majority countries in the world, Indonesia being the top one, and Egypt stands at 80.8, just over 80 million with respect to 2010 figures. Projected for 2030, we're looking at, in Egypt, 105 million. So, a no-brainer, right? Takaful's the way to go. So, as you can see, the scale gets heavier for Takaful. The other driver that you need to look at when choosing which option to go with is penetration against GDP. So the average insurance penetration in advanced mature markets like the States, Europe and so on is about 8%, roughly 8%. Whereas in MENA, it is roughly 3%. Now looking at that from a country perspective, in the Middle East and North Africa region, you'll see that they're lower than 3 and up to 3, and Egypt is at the 0.7% penetration. So the potential for insurance itself is huge for the future, and of course with the Muslim majority, the potential for Takaful is even better. The scale gets heavier. Regulator and market. We had a keynote speech from Dr. Ashraf, the chairman of EFSA, the supervisory authority, as he reminded us. And I think it's very comforting to know that the regulator in Egypt is promoting Takaful, is supporting Takaful for the future. And since 2008, they have actually helped to promote by way of articles, by way of legislation, by looking at the insurance regulations here and addressing the change that may be necessary. And with respect to the market as well, the landscape, if you just, this is an internal Nile Family Takaful study, so there could be some room for error. We've got 29 insurance providers in Egypt, life and non-life. From those, 14 are life alone. From those, the Takaful operators are 8 who are doing life and non-life, and only 3 are doing life. Takaful operators doing life. We are one of them, Nile Family Takaful. Hisham is there with Egyptian life, Egyptian Takaful, and Solidarity Family Takaful is also in the market. So as you can see, the scale gets even heavier. And then you have to consider the global and the MENA growth in the Takaful region. We've spoken about it before, but let me go to extracts from the Ernst & Young World Takaful report from last year. As you can see, in 2010, Takaful contributions reached around 8.3 billion. It's a bit of a tragedy, really, that you have to separate the Saudi cooperatives now. It's becoming a little bit more difficult in terms of reporting, but you know, Takaful in Saudi Arabia is going through something, let's say, maybe confused is a strong word, but let's hope it changes for the future. So 8.3 globally, narrowing that down to GCC, we're looking at around 5.6 billion. Egypt comes in others when we look at other markets. Sudan is there, Bangladesh is there, and within Egypt, you have roughly around up to, Jordan and Egypt have got about $50 million in terms of Takaful contributions up to 2010. So there is growth, so there is a potential, and the wheels have started to turn. And of course in Egypt, with the Arab Spring, the change in regime, and a focus on Sharia compliant products and Islamic finance, it obviously makes sense to have Sharia compliant products for the future. Just talking about that, I'm going to share with you our Sharia board. We have on our Sharia board Dr. Osama Al-Abd, who's a member, and he's the chairman of Al-Azhar University in Cairo. We also have Dr. Muhammad Al-Shahad, who is also a member, and he's the Secretary General of the Islamic Supreme Council and a member in the Islamic Research Council. Our chairman is Dr. Nasser Farid Wasil, who's the chairman, and he's the former Grand Mufti of Egypt and a member in the Islamic Research and the Fiqh Council for the Muslim World Association. And of course, they've signed off on the operations and products and programs of the Nile Takaful product company. So, Takaful it is. Okay, so we've entered into the market with a Takaful model, not a conventional model. So what kind of a model do we have? Well, let us share with you. Our Takaful model is a hybrid. It's a Wakala Mudaraba hybrid model. And basically it starts with the participants' contributions going into the participant Takaful fund. And before the contributions are in the PTF, the participant Takaful fund, the contributions, we take the wakala fee as we are the operator or the wakil. So we take the contribution, the wakala fee from the contribution, and the rest of the contribution is then invested into the participant's investment account, which is owned by the participant. The participant Takaful fund obviously is owned by the participants themselves. The wakala fee goes to the shareholders fund, and through which obviously operating expenses are taken to run the company and manage the participant Takaful fund on behalf of the participants. We then have the Mudaraba part of our hybrid model from the PIA, the participant's investment account. There is investment profit, and from that investment profit, 20% goes to the shareholders, while 80% goes back into the participant investment account. And of course, that goes back to the individual participant as an individual ownership. From the participant Takaful fund, of course, the retakaful claims and reserve activities are undertaken, and we hope that every year we create a surplus from that activity. And as Takaful principles dictate, the surplus goes back to the participants when we take 50% as a performance incentive fee. But of course, sometimes, because it's Islamic, there can be a surplus, but there can also be a deficit. In the event that there is a deficit, a Qardul Hasan is provided, which is a charitable loan from the shareholders fund to the participants' Takaful fund, which ultimately gets repaid in the long term through future surpluses. So there you have it. Okay, where are we so far? The Nile family Takaful experience so far, well, started in 2008, as we know, and it went to Giza. That's where the pyramids are. And maybe that's why they went there. I'm here since November, so I haven't had the experience of doing the tourism yet, but I'm sure I will. From Giza, in 2008, 2009, with 20 employees, we changed head office and moved to Heliopolis, where the head office is currently today. Sales branches were also opened in Mohandasin, in Maadi, in Nasser City, and in Alexandria, and we got up to 361 employees. And then we had in 2010 and 11, 414 employees opening sales branches in Danta and in Heliopolis itself. Then moving on to 2012, we have 503 and growing. Manpower. For the ladies out there, women have power as well, it's just the word, so please forgive me. As you can see, over the years, we've gone up, as you've seen in the last slide, up to 503 by the end of 2012 and still growing. Our contract growth, obviously between 2008 2009 was 0, and then 13 by the 2010 financial year end. And in 2011 financial year end, it was quite significant with 1,729. However, that could have been much more had it not been for the revolution at the time. In 2012, we ended with 2,677, and how that equates into contribution growth is as follows. In 2010, we went to 0.13 million, and in 2011, 5.25, which again was hindered because of the revolution, and a lot of companies were impacted, of course, in the market. but extremely significant growth in 2012 of 23 million. And we continue to do better hopefully this year. What are the products out there for Nile Family Takaful? Well, quite a lot actually. We have the generic savings and protection, risk protection products. We also have pure risk products. The Nile, Hasad and Sanabil products are your conventional, your generic savings come protection products, as well as Thimar. The pure risk protection product is Daman, and we have a savings protection product now which has been advanced and is the flagship product at the moment called Ahdaf, which means goals. And then we have that, those are individual products, and we also have corporate products, group sales, the group term Takaful product and the group retirement product as well, which is obviously sold to companies for the benefit of their employees. And all these question marks are ambitions that we have for the future, hopefully this year, in terms of doing a lot more in product development as we progress. What are the distribution channels? Well, the green light indicates the distribution channels that we have at the moment active. Our premium market, rather lion's share of contributions coming in is through the agency distribution channel, and that's quite traditional with life insurance companies and Takaful family companies as well. And we also have a corporate sales distribution channel. We also have brokers. Salama, who's here, is heading that up, and Nagla is here heading up corporate. Now, the yellow light depicts new distribution channels. We will be a multi-distribution channel company in the short term, and in the very short term, well, hopefully this year and early next year, we will be looking at other distribution channels and the products developed specifically for them. Any guesses? Any guesses?
Avenues you don't want to go down.
Oh, avenues we want to go down. No? Anything? Thank you, that's correct. Oh, but you've seen it. Bank Takaful. We are in a position, in a market where we as a company are in a position that we have the capability, we have the resources to be able to start Bank Takaful. We don't need much time in terms of customizing the system to be able to implement Bank Takaful. Product development isn't going to be that difficult, so we are almost ready to do Bank Takaful. The big question mark and the red light is, of course, because the central bank has stopped new players from transacting bank insurance or Bank Takaful in the Egyptian market. And we are hoping through the efforts of the Insurance Federation of Egypt, along with the practitioners in the market, that they will convince CBE, which is the Central Bank of Egypt, to relax the laws on Bank Takaful. And that hopefully will be a development that you can all watch out for in the Egyptian insurance and Takaful market. I want to now just touch upon, as an ending, value beyond profit. This is a practice, a principle within the Tokyo Marine Group. We have our Tokyo Marine colleagues here, Satoshi Funatsu, Satoshi Furia, and I just want to touch upon how that has impacted Nile Takaful through its corporate social responsibility activities. Although a young company, it has still managed to do a significant amount of work in the CSR space. There is a village where blankets were distributed in January 2012, and for a Rhoda village where roofs were built and clean water supply was provided. And in Ramadan in 2012, with the involvement of a lot of staff from both Nile General Takaful and Nile Family Takaful, food parcels were given out to the needy families in these villages to break their fast and also to prepare breakfast for their suhoor, for their fasting during Ramadan. And there you have it. It was excellent to see the reaction. And this is a tagline for the company, hand in hand for a better future. Thank you very much.